He was born as Elijah Carter, the quiet boy with soft eyes and a heart that beat too loudly for a world so muted. In the small town of Halbert's End, he was the boy who helped old women carry groceries, who drew pictures of birds in his sketchbook, and who sat quietly while the other children laughed and ran. He had no father, just a mother who whispered apologies to the air when she thought no one listened. Elijah listened. Always. He listened because he believed that if he understood enough, he could fix things. He could fix her. He could fix everything. For a while it worked. He was a gentle student, obsessed with anatomy, not the gore of it but the precision, the elegance. The way tendons curled like violin strings and bones nestled together like puzzle pieces. His teachers praised his discipline. His mother said he would become a surgeon one day. He smiled at that, holding her fragile words in his hands like spun glass. But time is cruel. His mother began to change. Her whispers grew louder, stranger. She locked herself in her room for hours, emerging only to cry or scream at shadows. The doctors said it was schizophrenia, but Elijah didn't believe in labels. He believed in patterns. And something in her patterns was wrong. One night, he found her carving the wallpaper with a fork, murmuring about the men in the walls. She turned to him with wild eyes, called him a demon, and struck him across the face. Blood tasted like copper pennies and betrayal. That was the last night she slept in her own bed. Elijah began to take care of her more directly. Sedatives. Routines. He started keeping notes like any good doctor would. It might have stayed that way too. A quiet madness contained inside a boy pretending to be a man. But when she finally succeeded in ending her life, swallowing every pill he had so carefully counted, Elijah broke in a way that felt like shattering glass underwater, silent but devastating. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the place where her body had curled like a question mark and waiting for some kind of answer. None came. He left Halbert's End soon after. Moved to a city where no one knew him, where anonymity gave him room to breathe. He took a job as a medical assistant in a private clinic. He was competent, efficient, quiet. Always quiet. People liked him because he made them feel safe. He remembered details, birthdays, coffee preferences, the way someone's left eye twitched when they were anxious. He saw things no one else noticed. And over time he began to see things he didn't want to. He saw a woman slapping her child behind closed doors. A man dragging his drunk wife to the car after her dental appointment. He watched a nurse steal medication. A receptionist forge insurance claims. The world had always felt a little broken to Elijah, but now he saw the cracks in high definition. And worse, no one else cared. They just smiled and moved on. He began to dream of blood, not as violence but as cleansing. Redemption. The first one wasn't planned. A man named Harold Decker, a frequent patient, had come in with a broken nose and bruised knuckles. He joked that his wife could take a punch, and Elijah felt something sharp twist inside him. That night he followed Harold home. He watched through the window as the man drank himself into a stupor. Then Elijah entered. Quietly. Like a shadow made of intention. He used surgical tubing, precise, painless. When it was done, he sat beside the body and whispered, "You won't hurt anyone now." He expected guilt. Or revulsion. But all he felt was stillness. Like silence had finally come home. He left no trace, returned to work the next day, smiled at patients and wrote in his journal. He didn't call it murder. He called it mercy. Over time he became more refined. More selective. He targeted abusers, frauds, predators. He researched his subjects meticulously, watched, documented, cross-referenced police reports and court records. Each kill was a symphony of order, each victim a dissonant note removed from the score. He wasn't insane, he told himself. He was justice that the law refused to be. He began leaving behind tiny surgical knots inside each body, a signature only a medical eye would notice. A mark that said, "I was here and I saw what you did." But the line between justice and judgment is thin and brittle. One night, a man named Jordan Pike became his next target. Accused of assault, charges dropped for lack of evidence. Elijah stalked him for weeks, convinced of his guilt. But on the night he went to act, he was interrupted by a woman, Pike's sister, not a victim but a caregiver. Jordan was mentally ill. Paranoid schizophrenia like Elijah's mother. He wasn't a predator. He was broken. Elijah left without killing him. But the foundation of his beliefs had cracked. How many others had he misjudged? The questions gnawed at him, but the urges didn't stop. If anything, they grew louder, more insistent. He began to rationalize more loosely. A dentist who overcharged the elderly. A landlord who neglected mold infestations. A preacher with a private vice. One by one they disappeared. Police noticed the pattern, but it was faint, scattered across districts, states, demographics. No obvious motive. No links. They called the killer the surgeon, but they had no face, no leads. Only the signature knot, tied with almost reverent precision. Elijah, meanwhile, drifted further from himself. He no longer sketched birds. His journal turned from observations to confessions written in cold, beautiful script. I bring balance, one entry read. Where is the madness, within me or the world? He stopped seeing people as people. They were systems, some working, some not. His empathy, once so keen, had become a tool for manipulation. He could cry on command, smile with conviction. He knew how to read a face, speak in just the right tone. No one suspected. How could they? Monsters didn't wear stethoscopes. Monsters didn't hum lullabies while they worked. The final turn came when he met Claire, a new nurse at the clinic. Bright, warm, persistent in a way that annoyed him at first but eventually stirred something long dormant. She was kind in a way that felt undeserved. She found his sketchbook one day tucked behind a cabinet and returned it to him with a smile. You should draw again, she said. You have a gentle soul. Gentle. The word gutted him. For weeks he tried to stop. No more research. No more stalking. He spent time with Claire, laughed at her jokes, let himself pretend. But urges do not die from neglect. They fester. And one night he slipped. A man on the subway. A predator whose eyes followed a teenage girl too long. Elijah followed him instead. It was quick, clean, efficient. But Claire saw the blood on his sleeve the next morning. She didn't say anything right away. Just looked at him, really looked. And something in her gaze, sorrow, fear, understanding, broke him in ways no scalpel ever could. That night, Elijah sat in his apartment, sketching. Not birds but faces. Every face he had ended. The paper turned red where his tears landed. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. When the police knocked on his door the next day, he didn't run. He answered quietly as always, smiled as always. They had no proof. But Claire stood behind them, trembling. And that was enough. They searched the apartment. Found the journals. The maps. The photos. The patterns. As they took him away, he looked at her and whispered, I only wanted to fix what was broken. She didn't reply. Just wept as the sirens faded into the distance. In the trial that followed, experts debated whether he was insane. Some said yes. Others called him a narcissistic vigilante. Elijah said nothing. He only asked for one thing, that they bury him next to his mother. Not because he loved her, but because she had been the beginning. And endings he believed should return to where they began. He never got that wish. His cell was cold, far from Halbert's End. But in his final journal, found after his death by suicide, he had written only one line. Even the scalpel thinks it's healing, until it cuts too deep.